not good to see this aired. The ratings were excellent beyond all expectations, and a book is now to be published at the end of the month. Ann Errol's NPR News, Moscow. Morning edition from NPR News. I'm Mae Montaigne.
And I'm Steve Inskeep.
Support for NPR comes from this and other NPR member stations. And from the Wallace Foundation, a source of ideas for expanding learning opportunities beyond the school day at wallacefoundation.org. From Ford Foundation, working with visionaries on the front lines of social change worldwide at fordfoundation.org. And from the Doris Duke Charitable Foundation, supporting the performing arts, environmental conservation, medical research, and the prevention of child abuse. This is NPR.
Bye, Bugsy.
Join me, Jason Bentley, later today on Morning Becomes Eclectic. We'll feature classic tracks, new releases, and inspiring new songs. Morning Becomes Eclectic is weekdays from 9 a.m. to noon on 89.9 KCRW.
Good morning. You're listening to subscriber-supported 89.9 KCRW, San Monica. KCRI, Indio, Palm Springs, KCRU, Oxnard, Ventura, KCRY, Mojave, and the Antelope Valley. KCRW is NPR News and handpicked music, streaming and podcasting at KCRW.com. We're a community service of Santa Monica College. It's 6 o'clock.
An attack in Pakistan started the country's military. About the surviving ringleader of the attack in the morning edition from NPR News. The Afghanistan debate centers on how many troops the U.S. should send. We're asking how many troops the U.S. is able to send. Steve Inskeep.
And I'm ready. It's Monday, October 12th. We'll hear about vigilantes trying to stop love and Jewish women dating Arab men. We review the new film Girl Seduced by Another Man. Spiegel tells us how advertising on the internet has patients demanding treatments that drive up the cost of healthcare. This Columbus Day is after Thanksgiving. In Canada, the news is next.
From NPR News, a suicide car bomb went off today in the Shangla district next to the Swat Valley in Pakistan. One official says at least 41 people were killed and scores were injured.
Security officials say the explosive blew up as it was on the Pakistani army convoy. It happened in the town of Albury in the Swat Valley, close to a hospital market. Troops have been killed, and most of the dead are thought to be civilians. The attack comes a day after Pakistani commando units had to end the siege in the army's own headquarters, when militants had taken over 40 hostages. It was a time when the army's preparing for a major offensive against the Taliban.
The BBC is now ruled. The explosion was the latest in a series of major attacks in Pakistan. Meantime, Pakistani fighter jets have been bombing suspected militant hideouts in a tribal region where the military had previously declared victory over the Taliban. A court in western China has sentenced 6 people to death for their role in riots in July, which killed nearly 200 people. The The riots were the worst ethnic violence to hit China in decades. NPR's Anthony Kuhn.
Chinese state television showed that blocked off streets around the courthouse in Urumqi, the capital of far-west Xinjiang region. The court sentenced 6 people to death and 1 to life in prison for murder and other crimes during the violence, which largely pitted ethnic minority Uyghurs against majority Han. Last month, prosecutors charged 21 people with murder, arson, robbery, and damage. More than 3 months after the violence, Urumqi remains tense, with thousands of police and military troops in the city. Internet and telecommunication links between Xinjiang and the outside world are severely affected. Anthony Kuhn, NPR News, Beijing.
The Nobel Prize in Economics has been won by 2 Americans, Milton Williamson. They won for their work in economic governance. The first woman to win the prize and a record for a woman to win a Nobel Prize this year. The Academy of Sciences says her work demonstrated how common problems and success can be managed by others. Williamson decided developing a theory where conflict resolution. The 2 will share a prize of $4 million on December 10th in Oslo. Oil prices rose about $5 a barrel in Asia trading today as investors look to a number of U.S. earnings reports this week to economic recovery. Benchmark crude was $58 to $73. This is NPR News. Most people with the H1N1 flu have recovered on their own, but new studies show just how nasty the virus can be in some healthy young people. NPR's Richard Knox reports.
One study looked at 168 patients with severe cases of swine flu who were admitted to intensive care units across Canada. Most were relatively healthy adolescents and young adults before the new flu struck. Within a few days, they were in the ICU with failing lungs and a host of other dangerous problems. 3 months later, 17% had died. Mexican doctors analyzed what happened to 58 patients there who were critically ill with the new H1N1. They were also young and generally healthy before they got infected. Their death rate was 41%, more than twice as high as the Canadians. It's not clear why. The studies are being presented today at a European conference. They'll be published next month in the Journal of the American Medical Association. Richard Knox, NPR News.
Secretary of State Hillary Clinton goes to Russia today to try to win Moscow's support for a strong stance on Iran's nuclear program. The Secretary will also be looking for progress on a new arms control agreement. In meetings tomorrow with Russian President Dmitry Medvedev and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, the Secretary plans to push for Russian support for new sanctions if Iran does not comply with demands to prove its nuclear program is peaceful. Meantime, negotiators from the U.S. and Russia are working hard to reach agreement on a successor to the 1991 Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, or START 1. I'm Carol Castle, NPR News in Washington.
Support for NPR comes from Carnegie Corporation of New York, a foundation created to do what Andrew called real and permanent good, celebrating 100 years of philanthropy.
Cherry Glazer for KCRD. State leaders have failed to reach a bipartisan deal to deal with California's water problems before midnight deadline laid down by Governor Schwarzenegger. But the governor says sufficient progress has been made, so he backed down on his threat to veto more than 700 bills and said he will act on all the measures. As of late last night, the governor had